So here we go. So I'm playing back an offline PB at the moment. I got this, you know, I need to focus very hard sometimes during this game. So I got this 139 on stream, and then I decided to do offline runs since then. I ended up resetting a lot on stream, not being very happy with my early game, and so, yeah, watching back this offline PB now. This is a 1:36:37. Time begins on selecting a player. And yeah, so, DKCR. The main movement you're going to be seeing is this, rolling and jumping, for solo DK movement. Solo DK can only roll so much before his roll eventually stops, and in order to conserve the speed, he needs to jump. That is not the case if you have Diddy, like right here. With Diddy on your back, you can roll infinitely, which makes the movement not only generally faster because re-rolling takes time, but just a lot nicer because you don't have to like time the distance or like plan the distance and height of your jumps in advance. And it's very useful. You saw me go slightly out of my way for a banana coin right there while the background was building up. That wouldn't matter in ILs, but in the full game any percent run, we need a bunch of banana coins for various things throughout the run. So every world has a world map, and there's always a path that's locked behind a key. A key costs 20 banana coins. There's 3 worlds where, for various reasons, unlocking the key path is faster. So we need 3 keys, which is 60 banana coins throughout the run. There's one level where we also need banana juice, which is an item you can also buy for 20 coins, and it gives you an extra 10 hits to take for free. It's super good. I ended up using banana juice in 3 levels actually, which is another 40 coins that I got throughout the run. Because I thought it was really helpful in those levels. 1-2 right here is a lot about climbing. 1-2 is a very hard level actually. When you start out in this game, you do ILs, people recommend you skip 1-2. I got a really good level here though. I got a fast cycle on that. Grabbing these vines and then maneuvering on them is actually really difficult. I barely grabbed this as well, which lets me cut some time off of this. Those platforms are only half covered in moss, so sometimes you have to wait really long for cycles if you mess something up. And right here, something that's important is diagonal climbing. Whenever there's like vines that you climb up straight up on, it's actually faster for some reason if you hold not only up, but also the direction against the wall you're currently climbing. So on a D-pad, you end up holding both up and left on a left wall and right on a right wall. So that's called diagonal climbing. It's a bit faster than normal climbing. Let's see, 1-3. 1-3 is not a very difficult level, but some things can go wrong here. There's a finicky section in like the middle-ish. Once you get up to the treetops. It's really hard to handle the IL way, quote-unquote. So I end up just doing kind of a knockoff variation of it. This level requires some finicky enemy bounces to go truly optimally in. So right here, you would ideally do a full momentum bounce there and then bounce on the frog to get across. Full momentum bounces with Diddy are actually really hard. With DK, like, you can just press 2 or A depending on how you play. And then get the bounce, an enemy bounce with your full speed. With Diddy, if you're trying to do that, it needs to be at a really precise time, because usually what happens is the jetpack activates itself. And you end up losing a lot of speed. So there I went just for a tiny bounce, and I didn't get the frog bounce. I backed up by going, quote-unquote, bottom route after delaying a bit. You need to wait for the cycle on the tree. 1-5 is a pretty difficult level. This level revolves largely around these cannon shots. Right here I'll be firing super early. We can do that and skip that one barrel at the top. Right here you could use the frogs for, like, if you get a really good momentum bounce with DD right there, you could skip 2 of those barrels, but again, momentum bounces with DD are very difficult. Then here, in a while, there's going to be another cannon shot where I fire, like, way earlier than intended, right there. That shot is pretty precise, and it lets you skip a bunch of barrels, too. I've actually gotten pretty consistent at it. I believe it's easier if you hold right, for some reason. But it's very easy to mess up still. It's also very easy to fall in that pit for some reason. I don't know why, but the ledge is really weird right there. And that's 1-5. As far as loading times go, I believe the fastest version for this game is Wii U Virtual Console. This is played on Wii U, but it's on with a physical disc, so I believe that's the second fastest thing. Right after, like, so then, you know, I think it's Wii U is just slightly faster than Wii in general. And I think if you had it digitally on Wii, like, so it will go like from slowest to fastest: Wii physical disc, Wii Shop, Wii U disc, and then Wii U Virtual Console. But I think it's kind of negligible time save. I think from Wii U disc to Wii U Virtual Console, it's like 30 seconds across the run in loading screens. You could debate if you want to do loadless for this game eventually. People have thought about it, but it hasn't been implemented yet. 1-6. There's not a lot to talk about, which is why I've kind of been talking into this level. This is a minecart auto-scroller. Minecart auto-scrollers have extremely limited space for optimization. You want to cut down pretty much any upward slopes. And you want to cut down steep downward slopes too. You want to take normal, like, slight downward slopes as much as possible. Sometimes you want to conserve great speed by jumping a bit. There are some points where, like, you can see it's kind of unoptimal, and I don't fully follow these principles. I would in an IL, but there are some cases where, like, trying to cut a jump short, for instance, or like skip too much of a bad slope will just lead you to die. So in full game runs, I don't go for like super optimal minecart auto-scrollers. 1B. I could write an essay about 1B. This level's really hard to get a shiny gold on in time attack. So this fight is separated into 9 hits and 3 phases. So 3 hits, 3 phases. In RTA, there's only so much you can do, because the optimal strats are really hard. What I'm going to go for here is a double hit right here when he goes across the screen. In the first and second phases, this is reasonably possible. And then here, for the third hit, I let him slide across the arena. Because it's really hard to get that hit in early enough that he, like, transforms into orange on the left side of the arena still. Double hit again right there. Here, it's actually free to have him transform on the left side still. And then this double hit right here is really, really tight. I didn't get it here. It's not too bad if you miss it, of course. But, like, the IL for this, the optimal strats are so hard. They're really hard to bring into a full game run, and that was honestly, like, about what you can expect from a full game 1B. There's, like, so much that I didn't even cover there. 1B is very in-depth. Alright, 2-1. So there are 3 levels in this game that I really don't like. 2-1 is one of them. The main problem with 2-1 is there's two really hard skips I don't go for. One doesn't really matter, it loses me probably like 3-4 seconds, but that's kind of it. The second one not only loses me some time, but it causes the cycles in the whole later half of the level to be really bad. Cycles in this game are all local, meaning that if you mess up somewhere, like, it doesn't affect the rest of the level. You can still play the rest of the level as you would, you know, if everything had gone perfectly, which I think is super, super nice about this game. But yeah, in 2-1's case, it's kind of bad, like, cause not doing the skip means the couple cycles that are ahead, like, just afterwards, end up being really bad. Right here, this section is horribly slow. There's like a way to get on that first platform way faster, but it's really difficult, and I've gotten it like twice in my life in ILs, so I just wait for like every platform right there. It's unfortunate, but it's just kind of in a full game run we have to do unless you're playing on a really high level. 2-2 thankfully is a super nice breather. 2-2 is very easy. I messed up the movement a little here and there, mostly at the beginning and end. But 2-2 is super straightforward. You just kind of roll a bunch, jump across various obstacles, and there really isn't much to it. It's a super nice breather after 2-1. 2-1 is a common reset point for me. It's also where I reset the run before this one, the attempt before this one. I got to 2-1 and probably died because I was impatient on one of the cycles you have to take super slowly at the end. There is a cycle here in this tower, but you can see I'm taking this very slowly. It really does not matter what speed you go at here because the cycle is practically impossible to make. You'd have to have a really good IL run, and it's just so unrealistic, especially for full game, that like you can just take your time and do whatever pretty much in the bottom section because you're not realistically gonna make it. Here I messed up my movement a bit, which was bad, not only because, you know, that was slow in itself, but it caused me to hit the squids right there and have to do a second shot. But not a big deal all in all. Two-free is our first full-on auto-scroller where we can really do anything. Two-free is the first rocket barrel auto-scroller, and, well, ILs in these basically come down to frame wars. How fast can you do the beginning section, how fast can you mash the rocket barrel out, and how fast can you jump to the gold barrel. That's kind of it. Because this whole section right here, which is like 1.5 minutes, you cannot speed up in any way. These auto-scrolls are kind of nice for us in full game because they usually provide us with a good amount of banana coins, just free on the way. Other than that, they're like mostly cinematic. I actually do really like this game's auto-scrollers still because they're super like cinematic. They're kind of good eye candy. They're not too difficult aside from like 8-2 maybe. But they're still fun to do even like after already having done them many times, and they do always kind of keep you on your toes. None of them are super easy, free, or brain dead. They're all just fun. But speed-wise, there's nothing much to say. You can style off by collecting all bananas and Kong letters and puzzle pieces. Well, not all puzzle pieces. Some of them are in sections outside the rocket barrel, but picking up collectibles actually does not matter for time at all. Like, there's a result screen at the end, but time-wise, it's the same regardless of whether you pick up Kong letters or puzzle pieces or you don't. You can do as you please in any kind of auto-scroller. Right, so the thing after the gold barrel, there is a puzzle piece right there that would obviously waste time to get. Within the auto-scroller itself, it's fair game. That brings us to 2-4. 2-4 is a level that I really like. It's pretty short, and you just get to roll through a lot of it, especially if you have Diddy at the very start already. Carrying Diddy over from one level to another can really help some. In ILs, you always start with solo Donkey, but there are some levels where for the start, it's extremely beneficial to have Diddy. I really don't know what to do about that second jellyfish. Feels like lately it just keeps hitting me. Because I did take that hit, I have to do a slowdown at one point later here. This barrel throw is super cool. I have to kind of slow down for the jellyfish. Here you could break all the crates and so either you damage boost using that cannonball, or you're actually fast enough to just not get hit at all. I've never been fast enough to not get hit at all, so I just avoided the cannonball because I really do want to keep Diddy for the rest of 2-4 and the start of 2-5. It's not a big deal if you lose him in this case, because in neither case is too important. The end of 2-4 is reasonably doable with just Donkey at a reasonable speed, and so is the start of 2-5. You get a Diddy barrel reasonably early on here, but you pretty much always want to have Diddy. It's almost never bad to not to have Diddy. He's just so nice to have. You know, like on top of having 4 hearts instead of 2, it's just the infinite rolling is just super nice. I take a damage boost right there so I can roll for the jellyfish on without stopping. The mid section of 2-5 isn't terribly difficult or interesting. I mean, well, visually it always is. This game always excels at making its levels look cool and exciting to watch. But for a run, it's not too difficult. This is where it gets interesting for the run, because now you have to think about health, conservation, and damage boosts. You could take a bunch of potential damage boosts here. I ended up playing this segment very safe, which I think always works out in your favor here, because having Diddy for this is really nice. Like here, you saw me slow down a good amount. There again. So having Diddy for the rest of this is nice. It allowed me to take a damage boost on the jellyfish right here. But what's bigger, honestly, is having Diddy for the start of 2-7. 2-7... I mentioned I don't like 3 levels in this game earlier. 2-1 was the first, 2-7 is the second. I really don't like 2-7. 2-7 is very difficult to find a balance of speed and safety in. This is a cycle-based level where mistakes almost equal insta-death, and there's not that many checkpoints. And if you only had solo DK here, you'd have to plan out every roll precisely in accordance with the enemy traps, because the orange ones that have their claws out, you can just roll into them. They will just hurt you if you do that. So having DD and being able to play reactively instead of proactively is super nice. You can take faster cycles in this level, or you can do more in one cycle, but it starts becoming really tight after a while. If any wave so much as scratches you, and if you have any mistakes, that will probably happen, then you're dead and you feel really bad. As you can see, I lost 40 seconds in this level in my PB. I waited that long cycle right there, even though there was still a bit to go on the wave, because it lets me get to this and then to the end. I think it's the best call of action right there. Yo, what's up, Black Yoshi? Oh yeah, and also, Axel Phantom Cafe. I didn't say hello to you, but, welcome. So that was 2-7. That was quite good. 2B is... yeah? It's a boss. This is one of the least, bad bosses. This is just kind of a pleasant stroll, more or less. There's not much that, no fight will be ever substantially different from one another. So you have to get 6 hits in 6 hits in here. All the free crabs come out one by one. You have to jump on them and then pound next to them. There's a little time after when they're fully out, when they, like, you jump on them and nothing happens yet. So you kind of have to balance around that. And then sometimes it, like, DK doesn't want to pound the ground for some reason. Then you knock the stack over, jump on each of them once, and then do the thing a second time. Oh yeah, something else you saw right there. If in this game, if you bounce on free enemies back to back without touching the ground, you get a banana coin for it. We're gonna be using that in free 4 to get a bunch of banana coins for a key, because there is a really short segment. So the first key we buy is in World 3, which is coming up soon. We almost have 20 banana coins. Then we buy one immediately after in World 4, so we have to get 20 coins in a pretty short segment. So in free 4, we're gonna use getting coins off of multiple enemy bounces to get the 20 coins that quickly. That's World 2. Honestly, probably one of my least favorite worlds. It's not super fun to play. It's got a bunch of like levels that are hard. It's got 2-1, 2-5 can be dicey, 2-7 I really don't like, but World 3 is a really fun one. One of my viewers always calls this level Wonky Wednesday, and I've kind of adapted it. It's funny. 3-1 is a very fun level. Fun fact about this enemy right here, this blue guy, he's not here in time attack mode. I don't know why. 3-1 has some strange differences between time attack and full game. Like that guy I grabbed onto and made the platform come out. In time attack, there's a trick where you can immediately jump onto the platform from the vine guy. But for some reason, I have not been able to get it to work in a full game yet. Taking the hit on that guy was kind of bad, because usually you want to damage boost the first sun on the middle layer right there, and then you can do faster movement across the pits on the middle. But it wasn't that bad. It's not that slow to just do the second row damage list. Oh yeah, hi Uni. Yeah, it's Uni. She always calls this level Wonky Wednesday. You have to be sure not to jump too early on the final one, else you'll get pushed into the abyss by the screaming column things. Happy Wonky Wednesday, everyone. Okay, so I'm not at 20 coins yet. Free 2 will bring me there. There's a bunch of nice coins in Free 2. Free 2 has a section at the start where you have to bounce on a bunch of enemies at once. Every single enemy after Free, I think up until like 7 or something, gives you a coin. Which one you get extra lives, but there's rarely like that many enemies to bounce on in sequence. So here we're just going to be getting a bunch of coins from the colibris in the next room. Fitting that today is a Wednesday. True, it is Wednesday, so it is officially Wonky Wednesday. What's up, Pete? Here, this is really nice for getting coins, and also you want to do these colibris like that anyway. Because they like way overshoot their target and sometimes like go out of the screen again, and missing anyone's kind of a bad time loss. Otherwise, this level's about barrel shots again, and these buttons everywhere. There's like a couple of things I don't do in this level. This is one of the longer levels in the run, about 2 minutes. Right here, what you can do is double hit buttons, so like position DK perfectly to hit 2 buttons at once, but I've never really gotten it. Here you can skip this altogether. Apparently there's a weird hitbox above that button on the wall that you can barely jump off of and then just grab onto the vines on the left without turning the spikes, but I actually haven't really looked into that one. I've just tried it a couple times and it didn't work. Those enemies, since there's 4 of them, you can get 2 coins right there if you need to for the coin route if you don't have 20 yet. But I didn't need to, so it's faster to just roll them. I forget how I did on this. So this final section is interesting. You have to hit 2 shots into their mouths here while the monkeys are spinning. Ideally, of course, you want to shoot as early as possible, but it's hard to like judge. If you shoot just a bit early, like there's a good amount of leeway. But if you shoot early, then it's kind of a bad time loss because you have to wait for the whole thing to come around again. You are allowed to miss shots. You can miss up to 3 shots. The game will save you. But it's just a time waste to miss any shots, of course. Like scratching time off of getting the shot in slightly earlier is like inconsequential. It's basically non-relevant. But the time lost from missing a shot is a lot. So this is the first instance where we buy a key. We do that because, as you can see on the world map, the boss is right there, up in the corner, and if we buy this key, instead of playing 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and then the boss, we can just do 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 4, and then 3, 6. So we have to do a level less, and also 3, 4 is good for 2 other reasons. It's very short. It's shorter than both 3, 3 and 3, 5 individually. And also there's a section in about the middle of this level where, like I said, we're going to be bouncing on a lot of enemies back to back, and there's also a lot of coins in the air right here. So we can get a bunch of coins for the key that we need in World 4 right here. It ends up being super nice. 3, 4 is a super good level for the route. See, I'm already almost up to 20 coins again. Alright, here would you take a damage boost and lose Diddy. It doesn't matter not having him for the start of 3-6, because 3-6 is a Rambi level. That platform right there and that shark, so you can see, you saw on the birds I stalled, and I kept the camera closer on the left. I wanted to have the platform move over to the right without loading in the shark yet. If I just like immediately gone further to the right, the shark would have loaded in and jumped, and I wouldn't have made it to the goal barrel. So I delayed, and like the platform still moved. I didn't lose any time, but the shark hadn't loaded in yet and the way was free. 3-6 is like I said, it's a Rambi level. Not that much happens here. Rambi gameplay is, well, this is the only level where we see Rambi in the run. Rambi's speed is a bit slower than rolling DK. And he's kind of harder to like, it's weird. So like Rambi loses basically all of his speed when he bonks into literally like any obstacle. And it's weird to get his acceleration back. He also doesn't handle air movement as well. I found out the other day that you can apparently die by falling in between the red flowers here, which I never thought to be possible. I wouldn't recommend it. You can also, like, sometimes Rambi will bonk back on obstacles, strangely. There's a bunch of weird things with Rambi. A bunch of the gaps were small enough, though, that Rambi can just cross over them without needing to jump, which is nice. The same does apply to DK and Diddy. Although I think there's fewer gaps where that's possible. Like, there were a few in 2-4, I think. But yeah, that's the only level where we see Rambi in the run. 3B. Oh boy, 3B. This is the first major RNG boss. This guy has 6 HP, also separated into, well, after 3 hits, he does like a quote-unquote desperation attack where he throws down a giant missile. What happened in this fight is kind of interesting. So you always want to go to one side and just hope he throws all bombs on your side. Which he didn't do here, spoiler. He threw a bomb right there and down there. So I wasn't able to get that hit in. So I got 2 hits in right here. And then I was forced to wait, pretty much. So over to the left again. Now this time he was nice enough to throw all 3 onto the left here. So I got all those in, and it actually, like, despite the fact they're technically separate phases, all HP counts. So like, currently he's at 1 HP, because I did 5 damage. Which means that when he comes over here, And he's greatly favored to come to the right after doing the missile. I can just throw a bomb back instantly and that's it. That was actually quite lucky, and this is probably the best I could have executed it to, even with him throwing the one bomb into the pit. You can lose a lot of time to bad patterns. He can just throw the bombs way off, or like give you enemies sometimes. World 4. This is the shortest world in the run, which is nice because it's this world is all auto-scrollers. Except for the boss. 4-1 and 4-2 are a kind of new type of auto-scroller. There's like... Actually, 4-1, first of all, in this level, you have a bunch of time outside the minecart still. Like, there's actually a bunch you can do to influence your time here. It's not as much of an auto-scroller as some of us. You have this whole section leading up to everything. And there's a whole bunch of, like, in-between sections that you can go fast on and skip some things. You have this dual minecart here. So unlike in 1-6, DK isn't sitting in the minecart, he's standing on it. Which also means, like, avoiding slopes isn't possible. Because the minecart's still always going to travel on them. But it does make some other things possible. You'll mostly see that in, like, 8-3. Yeah, this level is a bunch of in-between sections where you're off the minecart on some platforms. There's a big one at the end too, where we can enter a barrel early. We can skip a bunch of barrels, as you can see right here. I actually really do like 4-1. And again, as always with the auto-scrollers, like they're kind of always the same, but they're also super cinematic still to watch. Right here, you can jump off early, get that barrel instead of riding all the way to the end. I actually almost missed it right there. Oh yeah. Because I guess you saw me going way out of my way for it right there. I waited on the gold barrel for the DK icon. So the gold barrel just gives you various things that it cycles through. There's a bunch of bananas, an extra life, a single banana coin. But there's also a DK icon in the rotation. If you hit the DK icon, you can shake the Wiimote or the nunchuck if you prefer, up to 15 times. And you'll receive a random reward. I don't know what the probabilities are. I believe it's about 50% bunch of bananas, about 10% an extra extra lives, and about 40% what I want, which is banana coins. Like sometimes I'll go out of my way to hit the DK icon, punch 15 times and hope for 15 banana coins. For all the banana juices that I need extra for levels later on. Because like we get enough banana coins without any DK icons for all keys and the banana juice for 8-1. But like I said, I wanted 2 extra for 2 different levels. So if I didn't want to go too out of my way in levels, then I basically have to hit DK icons occasionally. There's a bunch of levels where just naturally, like, it cycles far enough that it's really close, but I still went out of my way here and there, and I think I made it with, like, 5 coins to spare or something. Because, again, like, on the DK icon, getting banana coins is just a chance. You saw me get 15 bunches of bananas earlier. And so, that didn't actually get me anything, technically. So I just tried for it a bunch of times here and there. Again here. And there I got banana coins, which is nice. Yo, what's up, Absu? See, I didn't talk about 4-2. It was another dual minecart auto-scroller with less to do. Sometimes you, like, grapple onto the train, and there are wacky things you can do there. But there's not too much you can do in the way of speed. So World 4 is another one where we buy the key. In this case, it allows us to do 4-4 and skip straight to the boss. It actually doesn't technically cut out a level, because you could just go 4-1, 4-3, and then 4-5. But it does turn out that's a slower route than 4-1, 4-2, 4-4. Yeah, this is another rocket barrel auto-scroller. Not much happens here. I like the moles here. They're funny little dudes. There is something you could do in the IL, which is death abuse. So at a check, like there's a checkpoint in this level, and if you die like right upon activating it, you can save time because the timer for the ILs doesn't restart instantly. It actually has a small delay, and if you mash, like, the game gives you another rocket barrel, of course, to continue. If you mash that fast enough, you can save time. It's weird though, it's inconsistent. The timer doesn't restart consistently after death, so there's like some wacky things that can happen, and like, sometimes you like get a time with death abuse in the IL, and when you do the replay, like suddenly you're like 0.2 or 0.4 slower for no reason. That's when you do what's called bullying the replay, which is just replaying it over and over again until it gives you your original time, or something even better. Like sometimes you'll watch back the replay, and you'll actually end up getting a faster time than what you got. It's pretty funny. Right there, because of like how long the rocket barrel takes to explode, the barrel was basically already on the DK icon. It's not fast to take them, but I take a couple for extra DK coin or extra banana coins. 4B is a super interesting level. I'm a huge fan of 4B actually. This level technically has some RNG, but it's almost inconsequential and it's super fun. So you're supposed to have like a long waiting section for all these phases here until eventually your card like joins the others, but you can just, with Diddy, you can just jump across all the way and skip all that. Then you need to beat up moles. You can get some banana coins here too, but it's, well, a couple are helpful, but you don't need to go out of your way for it. And then, yeah, you just do the same thing every time, basically. You skip significant waiting sections and just have the action here. It's very fun. Of course, where the moles pop out, and sometimes, like, how fast is up to luck. Sometimes you can't bounce on them as well. But it's really small. The kill border, as soon as you complete a section with moles, is lifted the moment the first card drops off. So that's my cue to do the jump. For the last one, it doesn't matter. It saves you no time to try and do the jump here, because the boss waits for the last card to join anyway. This guy, where he appears isn't fully random. The first two cards that he shakes will never have him. So, based on that, you can kind of guess where he's gonna be. It doesn't really matter if you lose Diddy here. I would prefer not to, but sometimes the hitboxes are weird. Sometimes you just hit yourself on his pickaxe. There's various quote-unquote attacks you can do as well. Like various ways you can hold it. It's really not that bad to not have Diddy for the starter 5-1. You get a Diddy barrel pretty early. Now 5-1. World 5 in general is really tough. It's like, so the mid to end game in this game is really difficult for a speedrun. In World 5 especially, there's like a little gauntlet of really tough levels, namely 5-2, 5-3, 5-4, and to a lesser extent 5-5. 5-1 is like still okay, but this is the point where I always like start to get scared of the gauntlet. 5-1 itself doesn't have many things. You gotta jump to Vine from Vine to Vine. There's a couple of things you could do with momentum bounces here, but again, momentum bounces with Diddy are very difficult. I tried to go for a couple extra banana coins there, but actually hit myself on the guy. which meant that I had to slow down for this part right here. Usually you can just boost one of the purple things, but because I hit myself on the guy, I wasn't able to do that. So I had to take it a little slow. Some vines you just have to wait for. Yeah, the train animation when 4B ends is very cute. This game has a lot of cute things on the world map like that. A lot of things you don't really see unless you pay attention to them. A bunch of like objects on the world map start like activating, quote unquote. If you have that level selected, like they start like wiggling, hopping, and you know, being interactive. It's cute. Alright. That one actually, like, I think you could maybe barely get the DK icon if you're super fast on that, but it's really hard to be fast enough right there without, like, being super risky. So now the gauntlet starts. 5-2 is very difficult because it has a lot of skips, and they're all pretty darn risky. And thankfully this level's generous on Diddy barrels, like you get like 3 of them, maybe even 4, because there's a bunch of damage boosts we abuse as well. So the first thing's here, we raise this platform, wait for the projectile to disappear, and then skip ahead up here, and then we chain that into this, skip that entire swinging platform. That's pretty difficult. Effectively there was a Diddy barrel right there, so I can take another damage boost right there. There's another one right here. And then you can get hit there, it doesn't really matter. I sometimes do. This can be a really cool off-screen jump to this platform. Another damage boost right there. This jump can kill you if you're not careful. So I usually hold back a little. Another Diddy Bell right here, which is good, because, well, I really messed up the movement there, but usually take a hit there. This is probably the easiest skip, just going on top of that thing. It's intended, because there's a puzzle piece. And then the last one's right here. We go on top of this thing instead of using the bottom to swing. And wait, was this on? No. Okay. So, like, we barely do that, and it's a bit faster. There was a run where I, like, fell off the front side, and I grabbed onto the bottom still and survived, and I don't know what happened there. It was insane. 5-3. I think this is the first level where I took a death. Which I think is the latest I've taken a death so far. This level's really tough. You have a bunch of small platforms that you need to navigate on. A bunch of cycles you need to either wait for or make too. So that one you have to wait for. Here, like, depending on what bounce you get from the spider, you can make it to the second one already. If you don't, it's generally safest to use the third. Section right here isn't too difficult. This is like a little preview you get before the very difficult final section. You can do this part a bunch faster, I think, like, if you use more roll jumps and use the bouncy flowers less because they're slow. But this is how I learned it, and I haven't really ever learned faster way. So here's my death. So that was good. That was really hard, and then I hit myself on the spider, which I don't think I'd ever done before. That was unfortunate, but that didn't really matter even. There was a DK barrel, or a Diddy barrel right here. Now the cycles are a bit off. The death cycles are always different. If you come back after a death, and so, that was a bit awkward. But I got through effectively the intended way. Because the cycles are local, again, like, this is all as it would be if I hadn't messed up. So I was able to, like, I knew how the final platforms were gonna move exactly. So that's a really nice thing about this game. Not a huge dev all in all. This is my personal nemesis. I mentioned earlier I really dislike 3 levels in this game. 2-1, 2-7, and 5-4. I hate 5-4. This level's really hard. Well, it's mostly hard to do fast. You also do not get a Diddy barrel until basically the very end. if you ever mess up, then you might be in for a bad time. And the moving platforms here are really hard to use. And there's a bunch of enemies that are just absolute, like, the most in the way they could be. There's a bunch of super difficult strats and skips that I didn't go for too. You can, like, do insane stuff in this level, even with solo DK. Like, right here. You can use these bats coming up to just skip waiting on the totem poles here. And it's... you have to see it. It's in the IL. It's insane. And then even the finish is tough because, like, I don't really have a good visual cue for when that final thing opens. Kind of like its last trick. 5-5 is one of my favorite levels in the game. I really like 5-5, but it's still kind of scary in a speedrun. Because it is very easy to die. 5-5 is, like... The thing about 5-5 is that it's a combination of super high, fast-paced, and also precision. Those two things kinda don't mix. I mean, they... like, usually it's not a problem. But there's a couple dangerous spots. Right here we get out early. We have to actually use that contraption down there at the bottom to do that faster. Yeah, this level's all about fast barrel shots. The dangerous parts are coming up. So this, like, if you hit yourself on any of those totem things, I guess, then you're dead. And it's dangerous for that one. Because that one, you can't have the barrel go to the end. You need to shoot in the middle when it's still at full speed. That one's really easy to die on. Right here, there's a skip where you can get in between those two and fall down, which is where you need to go. But if you mess it up and the timing's pretty tight and it's, like, again, not a really good cue, then you die. So I always take it safe. But 5-5 is a super fast, super fun level. Especially if everything goes right. So with that, we skip ahead to 5-8, because 5-6 and 5-7 are on the bottom path right there, and they're far slower to take than the top path. Um, 5-8 is interesting. Usually I would say something like, if you're afraid of spiders, then beware, but honestly, like, it really is, it doesn't even matter, because we get so far ahead of the level that the spiders chasing us basically never make an appearance. You're supposed to be chased by spiders throughout all this, but, like, it basically never comes up. This level has a couple tough jumps and enemy bounces, but there's no danger of dying or anything, so this is kind of where the gauntlet ends. Other than that, it's just kind of cool movement. That enemy bounce, like, you can bounce on that rock, get a small bounce up to the platform, but it's very finicky. Then that's kind of like the only thing that's really in the level. I guess we get to see the spiders a bunch here, because a new section begins here. We get to see them from the bottom coming up. So with that done, we move on to 5B. 5B is a boss. How do you describe 5B? So the main thing in this level is, it's really hard to get around the arena because the arena's all covered in vines. You grab vines in this game with 1, which is also the button you use for running. So you want to have it pressed down at all times, but also, like, that'll lead to complications here when you want to roll jump off of a vine surface. Mango Ruby's path is also slightly... I don't think it's random, but, like, because of your inconsistency in movement, it can vary. So I went out of my way here for a heart, because I really do not want to have Diddy die in this fight. Sometimes, like, Like right there, I could have immediately jumped to the left, but I probably would not have had the height and distance to make it across. It's very finicky. You really have to like learn how to handle vines and vine surfaces in this game. You can get hearts, quote-unquote, for free sometimes. Like, sometimes after you push in a button here, they start appearing on the wheels. But I wasn't lucky enough to have one in my way here. A lot of the time it is faster, by the way, to climb a wheel against the flow, basically. And once all buttons are hit, you have to hit Mango Ruby, of course, which can also be finicky sometimes, depending on what path it takes. Like, sometimes you finish the last one, and Mango Ruby is like way across the screen, and you have to think about what to do. That was a slow 5B, but like all within reason. So we move on to World 6. This is one of the toughest worlds. Like in general, like the difficulty in, like, it's spiked a little earlier in World 5, but I think this is where it's like most consistently relatively high. 6-1, I had to start without Diddy now because I lost him in 5B. It's not too big a deal. There's a Diddy barrel pretty soon, and I've learned how to do this section without him because of the IL. But it is still just always very dangerous. This guy right here, you want to get an enemy bounce off of, so you can just barely make that. That was actually pretty unclean movement. You can make that a lot less close, but it still just barely worked. Next bounce right here. This doesn't need to be a momentum bounce, and it wasn't, so, you know. That'll still just work. And then this final section, it's really nice to have Diddy for. It makes it a lot easier and a lot safer. This right here too, I almost touched the tar. So you're supposed to like kill all the guys, tilt the thing over. So like it's down on the right side and up on the left, and then jump on the left platform, and then roll jump over to the gold barrel. But you can use the little guys tilting it ever so slightly to the right, so that the left gets lifted up, and you can use the tiny amount of height you get from that at a really specific time window to just barely have enough height to reach the gold barrel. You need to be really fast because obviously your weight is going to drag it down on the left side if you take too long. It's not actually as difficult as it sounds, especially if you have Diddy, but it is definitely not easy. 6-2. This is another minecart auto-scroller. One where you're inside again. I died in this level. I took a death like right after the checkpoint. Which is interesting. Usually you don't tend to take deaths in the auto-scrollers, but sometimes it just happens. There's a bunch of strats where you can go risky here and like skip upward slopes or like minimize upwards movement. A lot of which I didn't go for, because, again, like, they have a good potential of killing you, too. That guy, I guess I just jumped too low. It's unfortunate, but I think it was like a 20-second death. There are way worse things that can happen. And there is one pretty bad thing that did still happen in 6-4. We'll get to that. Like there, right there, you could have done a jump. Right here, you could do a tiny jump. Like skip all the upward slopes. But that's something you really only do in an IL. ILs are a great way to learn this game, by the way. I learned this game pretty much entirely through ILs. This game has 71 whole levels. We only do, if I had to guess, like 60 in the run. Well, only. It's still a lot. Maybe a bit less because it's all the key levels are skipped, of course. But yeah, the ILs are a great way to start. There's leaderboards for those on speedrun.com too, because this game doesn't have an online leaderboard system like Tropical Freeze, and like having the muscle memory from ILs helps a lot, even though they differ in some ways. Yeah, touching the tar is very bad in like 6-1 and the start of 6-2. And I guess the end of 6-6. That happened to me once. It was very bad. Tar greatly hinders your movement, is a pain to get off. 6-3. This is always a super scary level. Something can easily go wrong in this level. It's not super difficult in itself, but there's a lot that can go wrong, and it's like none of this is easy. The main gimmick is supposed to be these platforms that lift up and down, like the kind of seesaws. We skip most of the things associated with them, because the movement in this game is awesome. Like, there we also just kind of use the momentum from that platform to skip halfway across. This puzzle we can entirely skip by just like lifting up the side of that, and it gives us barely enough height. There's a whole puzzle you're supposed to do there. It's pretty funny, honestly. I really like it. Here there's supposed to be a whole thing where like destroy the boulder and lift the thing up, but we don't need to do that. We barely even need to move that platform. We do not need to move these at all, because we can just do that. This game has awesome movement that, like, in itself allows you to skip a lot, and I think the developers intended a lot of it. Because of that shiny gold times are really low sometimes. This is the big one. This is probably the biggest skip in this one. It's not as difficult as it looks, but I do take some extra time, like, on the platform setting it up, and, I kind of make sure at the end that I'm right above the barrel by hovering a little longer. But that's a pretty big one. 6-4. 6-4 is a level. This level always goes differently every run. So I guess it's like the polar opposite of 2B. I don't know why, but this level never feels consistent ever. Even though like everything should be on a local cycle and like it should be somewhat consistent. There are some things that are consistent, but like depending on how well you get through everything, like things change up with the dropping boulders and whatnot, and sometimes you need to slow down extra amounts. And there's something really unfortunate that happened in this level. So we take a lot of damage boost, but it's like fine, because we get a Diddy barrel soon. But then like, I'll just let you watch. There, the Diddy barrel. I do not have Diddy. I believe what happened is like, I was on 1 HP with Diddy. I believe what happened is like, I obviously have to take this extremely slowly, because I do not have any health to spare or a jetpack to hover over currently. I believe what happened is like, I threw the Diddy barrel, and like a frame after or something, I took damage. So it wasn't able to heal Diddy, and it also didn't give me Diddy. So I took the death right there to get my heart back, had to take that guy really slowly, and I also have to take this extremely slowly. Usually you would have 4 hearts at this point, you could deboost that one enemy at the checkpoint and that boulder, but I only have 2 hearts, so I had to bypass the enemy and wait for those boulders. I was only able to damage boost that last one, and that whole ordeal cost me like 20 seconds, and it was really bad. I honestly like panicked. I really wasn't sure what to do. I wasn't sure if I could recover from that at all, but I managed somehow. Because I've never run into that situation. Sometimes you get a glitch where like, you get hit and then you still get Diddy. So like, you end up with a situation that's supposed to be impossible, where you have 1 heart on DK and 2 hearts on Diddy. But even that didn't happen. Like, I straight up didn't have Diddy, and I was just on 2 hearts with DK, as if I had never thrown that Diddy barrel, as if it hadn't existed. It was really strange. 6-6. I died in this level in my PB. You can see from the 20 seconds of possible time save. 6-6 is not super tough, but it's also not super easy. You can consistently get for pretty much all of it. You didn't need to raise that right there. I was just like super nervous. I guess like I can mention, so DK has a thing he does sometimes. I like to call it a ledge grab, even though it's not really. But it's just like sometimes when you barely make it onto a ledge, DK like gains a little height and just barely makes it on. He does like this little huffing sound. So, like, that happens there, but I was just kind of afraid of it. Because sometimes that can go wrong. That's like the thing in 1.5 that I mentioned. Like, sometimes he just doesn't make it on because the ledge has weird behavior. There's another thing at the end of 6.6. So this level. Where, like, usually I take a different strat than what I do in this run. That was also for safety, because, like, you have to land a ledge grab otherwise. If you don't, you end up in a tar pit at the bottom, and it's really bad. So here, I skipped to the second platform instead of the first. You still hurt DK due to the ledge grab, but I think that's more consistent than going onto the first and the platform and then jumping to the gold barrel. Because if you miss that one, you fall into a giant tar pit, and it's really slow to recover from. So yeah, the path collapses and we have to do 6, 7, and 6, 8 still. Which makes World 6, I believe, the longest. We only skip one level in here. Well, it's the one on the key path. We had a choice between 6, 5, and 6, 4. They're both not too long, but it's faster to not buy the key. It's 6, 5 isn't shorter, or doesn't have any benefit. 6, 7 is also a level. There isn't too much to say here. This level has these cannons that pop out slowly. It's like a hard judging game when exactly the next one will come out. There's no indication of it. You just have to get a feel for when they come out. You can easily miss that barrel right there by being too low when you hover. This level also has a bunch of weird janky slopes that sometimes you can't properly roll or jump on. Other than that, it's pretty consistent and not too difficult. I get an enemy bounce off of the crap right here. I think that's the only case where I do like a grounded enemy bounce. Like, I just roll up to an enemy and then use their hitbox for an enemy bounce. It doesn't get you a lot of height, but like there, for instance, it's just enough to ledge grab the next ledge. And that's 6, 7. You can sometimes, I don't know why or when that happens, but sometimes you don't get hit by the last cannonball at the end of 6, 7. It's never a problem. You pretty much always have 2 hearts right there. And even if you didn't, there's a Diddy barrel at the start of 6, 8. But I just don't know why it sometimes, like, usually you get hit. I don't know why it sometimes doesn't happen. It's weird. 6, 8 is a very difficult level. It's gorgeous. I love the atmosphere in this level, but it is pretty difficult. It's like a mix of quick platform jumps and a few cannon shots here and there. Some other cycles are off here. Usually those platforms are already like on the left when I'm there, or on the right, and these are like already on the right. I think it's a difference between full game and time attack. So now there's going to be a bunch of barrels like these that move back and forth, and you have to shoot yourself up. This is mostly down to memorization, because you can't see what's at the top, but you can know if you've done it enough. So you can know when it's safe to shoot and where you have to shoot from. The last section in this level in particular, these cycles seem to be extremely local, because like if you can basically do that every time if you get the first shot right. And it's very nice if that happens. That was a very good 6-8. Uh, 6B. This level... See, here's the thing. This level's basically the same every time, but there's still great time variance for some reason. You can lose or gain a lot of time to nothing. It's strange, because there's minor RNG elements involved. But they don't end up affecting anything in how you do the fight. So this is Mowgli's bigger brother, if you remember 1B. This is the longest level in the game, clocking in at like 248 for the shiny gold. And he's way vulnerable way less often than Mowgli. there's minor RNG elements in like his turning around and whatnot. One of the biggest things that you want to do here that I also did at one point in the Mowgli fight is let him walk all the way across the arena pretty much before you hit him. Because he has way more speed than running if you haven't passed him yet. Like, you're supposed to jump over him, get the hit in, and if you do that early, then he drops a bunch of speed and walks slowly to the other side. So you want to have him rush as far as possible. Again, this fight is 9 hits, 3 hits, 3 phases. This fight is entirely scripted in terms of what he does. So it's, for instance, this is always going to be this rush attack, or like, first it's you know, rush, open up, and then that attack. It is random how far he walks here. It's like if he immediately drops and lets you attack him, that saves you time because he needs to walk less to the wall, and also, you know, you can get the hit in way faster. And then the slam attack, same thing. You want to lure him as far to the wall as possible. And then last phase is like the only one where something remotely interesting that you can influence happens. So he gains a new attack in this phase. He gained the fire breathing attack in the last phase. Here he gains a new one where he does a fireball attack. And if you have a heart with Diddy left, like if you have 2 hearts with Diddy, you can just tank that, and the entire attack will be skipped effectively. That's interestingly one of the version differences between this and the 3DS version. You can tank it, of course, but it doesn't do anything. The attack still, like, plays out. The projectile doesn't get deleted. He really liked walking in this attempt. Like, that's basically the maximum distance he can do. So that's unfortunate luck. I would not recommend trying to skip that fireball attack if you don't have 2 hearts on Diddy. It's not a good time. Just don't do it. He does it again here. Thankfully, I think he always drops a heart if you're currently missing one. Then, yeah. Last hit, you obviously do not want to delay and wait for him to walk across the arena, because, you know, he's going to be dead after. So you want to get that hit in as early as possible. Yeah, I lost a bunch of time to various things, just randomly being slow. There's like slow and fast animations on how far he walks after he does the super rush attack. Is random, and I got pretty unlucky, but like, I want to say it all 3 times. World 7 is also pretty consistently difficult. You get a couple breathers, like 7-1 isn't too bad, 7-2 is eh. 7-3 isn't too bad, but they're all pretty tough. 7-1 is a nice silhouette level. We have one of these in 1-4, but we don't do 1-4 because it's the key level of World 1. There's not too much to say about this level. You can do, like, you can immediately go below that thing and still hit the barrel, but in full game it's way safer to, like, stand on the left platform and, like, raise the thing up a bit. Because you can die, like, it's really easy to die. Oh yeah, my public enemy, that weird surface. It's really easy to die if you just go instantly. I made a hate post about that specific weird, like, surface, because it has, like, weird ceiling properties, and you can, like, see me fumble around with it and almost die right there, and it's bad. I guess one minor thing right there at the very end. If you do a ledge grab onto a switch or like a pounding platform, as you've often seen them, it actually, like, DK takes a little time to recover after a ledge grab, unless you do a roll, which we don't want to do when we want to pound a switch. So, like, right there, I jumped extra high onto the switch to land on it and not ledge grab it, so I can immediately pound it down. 7-2 is interesting. We do the first half of this as solo DK. Even though there's a Diddy barrel relatively early on, we skip it. Because I'm actually gonna use Def Abuse once right here. Even though this is not an IL, it's technically debatable whether this is worth it, but I'd like to do it. So take a hit right there. Get across here. Then right here is the checkpoint, and I'm gonna dunk myself into the pit right after. And then that sets up the cycles nicely for this. So you barely get through. Do that nicely, and yeah. I think it technically probably loses a bit of time optimally, but I really like that strat. It makes things nice, consistent, and pretty easy. Unfortunately, there's no way to keep Diddy without significant time loss here, I'm pretty sure. This section's against cycle based. I think I hit a very tight cycle here. So right here, if you do this just right and fast enough, you can barely do that as soon as it opens, and then that one doesn't crush you, and then you can do this perfectly. It works out so nicely. That's really hard to hit though. Not even my IL has that. I should redo that one at some point. There's a couple of ILs where like I've learned new things about the levels when doing full runs. So we're currently sitting on a cute stock of banana coins. We're gonna buy one last key here, because 7-3 is way faster than 7-4. And we're also gonna buy 3 banana juices. So one of them is for 8-1, as I've mentioned, where it's basically absolutely necessary. And then I'm gonna use one in 7-6 and 7-7 respectively. You could probably argue about the one in 7-6, move it to like 8-5, 8-6 or something, but I'll explain why I use those when I get there. 7-3 is like half as long as 7-4, because 7-4 is a rocket barrel auto-scroller, and this level is like 40 seconds long. The cycles are a bit different at the start compared to the IL, because in the IL, the tutorial pig counts you down from 3, which makes that so that those cycles are way nicer. Other than that, this level's just really cool to watch, because everything works out really smoothly. We can use the hand platforms in very cool ways. A couple of fast barrel shots. Oh, was this the attempt where I messed up the finale? Oh yeah, oops. I tried to shoot myself earlier right there. Ended up getting hit and needing to locate myself again. Well, after a while, DK pops out of the barrel, so you know that's how you can easily tell where you are. But yeah, that was a small mistake. 7-5. This is the sort of another small gauntlet, I guess. 7-5, 7-6, and 7-7. They're all not easy. I'd say 7-5 is easily the hardest. This is probably one of the hardest levels in the game, honestly. You can see my PB died here, and I was very nervous at this point because the pace is pretty good. Because I still have a bunch of time saved in the end game levels. So, you know, the only thing that was on my mind was not dying here. This level's weird because it has like these rotating surfaces, and it's really weird in what you can like roll off of or like roll on and what you can't. What you can jump on, where you slide off of. It's weird. Something extra we need to do in full game that's not in ILs is 7-5, 7-6, and 7-7 all have a switch to hit that we need to activate to get access to 7R and continue the world. So the one for 7-5 is here. You need to wait a bit, and then it shows up here. I went extremely slowly here trying to conserve my HP. Funnily enough, I think that basically didn't lose me time, because there's a couple, like, I would have needed to wait for that cycle, I think. And just in general, there's a couple of really poor cycles in this level. Like, we're on local cycles again, and these cycles are just abysmal. Even in the IL, there's no good way to get past them fast. That platform is extremely devious. Oh, and this is extremely clutch. I, like, could not make it onto that, and honestly, I did not deserve to make it back and live. That was extremely clutch. I thought I was dead. But I barely made it through alive. So, yeah, extremely poor cycles here at the end. Like, I lost some time, but compared to not dying, it's all still good. 7-5. The ending of 7-5 is really difficult. Alright, so this is the first level where I use banana juice. It's mostly for the ending, because the ending can be really tight if you don't have hits to spare. Like, there's a huge game of what do you want to do, how do you want to do it, and it's just hard in general. The section is really hard to do fast. But otherwise the level's super cool. You have the blue and red platforms, the blue and red switches. There's a bunch of cool ways to go faster around here. Here we need to go back for the switch for 7-6. Missing a switch is a mistake you make once and never again. I missed the switch in 7-7 on my first run. It was bad. Alright, so here's where we start getting into damage boosting. So this hit I take, and then here's where I would lose Diddy if I didn't have that banana juice. And then I would be down to 1 heart right here. I could fill it back up. I'd lose it again, and then here you have the problem with the lost damage boost, because you want to take that one. There's a way to do all of that. Like, there's a way to take damage off of the very last electrical sphere and use the iframes for the robot guy. But it's really, really hard, and it's just a lot nicer, a lot safer, a lot less stressful if you have the banana juice. 7-7, I do think juice is super worthwhile. This is the second level where I use it. Like, after the midway point, you start to, like, either take some things really slowly or just take a lot of hits. And it's kind of a bad time if you take hits. This level has amazing music too. Everything's synced to the beat, it's super cool. You can tell I'm a big fan of this level because I used 7-6 and 7-7 as my inspiration for custom Mega Man level I submitted to a contest. So here I start taking hits, which lets me go faster on some of these hammer cycles. Usually it would be very hard to avoid hits and still go fast. It lets me boost across this. It lets me not have to worry about the fire cycles here. I accidentally did a roll there instead of a pound. Both rolling and pounding are just mapped to shaking the Wiimote. If you play with a horizontal Wiimote, it's just dependent on your current health buttons and momentum. What you get. Here I have to wait for this. There's a bunch of things that can hit you here that you have to go slow for. And I use it for this too. This is kind of my own strat, I guess. Just can keep rolling here. Like your jumps actually don't get cancelled if you get hit by the hammers, funnily enough. So if you have the health to spare, you can just keep rolling, and usually you'd have to do like 2 hammer swings per platform, and that greatly speeds it up. Alright, 7R. Embarrassingly, I died here in my PB. This is an auto-scroller, and it was a pretty bad death. So you can see, I have like 45 seconds here. This is where a lot of time save came from still. This is a level this is the only level that doesn't have a time attack or anything, funnily. It doesn't have a mirror mode. This level just kind of exists. You do it once and then you forget about it, basically, unless you do full game speedruns. There's not much to say. There's no way to speed this up. We have another autoscroller like this in 8B, just the final level. You just, above all else, do not want to die here. This is the point where like I start being on really good pace, and I just, above all else, do not want to die. Because PB is basically guaranteed, and like, I was just going for a 137, but I realized at this point that the run was good enough for me to get a 136 if I didn't have any major mess-ups. 7B, oh boy. 7B is awful. I'm not sure if there's a person who's super involved in running this game and really likes 7B, because it's super RNG heavy. There's a really difficult strat in the second phase that I don't even usually go for, but still somehow got in this run. So first of all, to start the boss fight, there's like 30 seconds of doing nothing. The first whole bit here is scripted. He's gonna walk across the screen, just in blue once. He's gonna turn back, he's gonna walk, just a tiny bit, and then turn red. Do a little fast movement, do the rest in blue. Then he's gonna walk about to the middle in blue still, walk until in red, until he's like just in front of me. And then he's gonna jump up, and at that point, like, it starts becoming RNG. So I already got lucky here that he decided to show the weak point instantly. He can still stall that for like 2 jumps, which is bad luck. Then it's basically completely random what he does. So he can walk, he can jump again, which is the thing you want to see, because you obviously want him to instantly show his weak spot again. He can do the whole blue walks, which are obviously slow. He can do red walks, which because they end in him starting to jump, are good. But like right here, you saw I got 2 whole blue cycles. Just him walking across the screen 2 times in blue, which is excruciatingly bad. Then I finally get the second hit in right here. At least he didn't delay that. And then he dropped the heart on the right side, where I couldn't really get out without getting hit. So, you know, I'm still on 1 heart with Diddy. Then here's what he can, like, here's how he can delay. He can just close his feet again and not allow you to get the hit in. So this was really bad 7B luck. And there's a phase 2, and he doesn't drop a heart if, like, on the phase transition. So there's something you can go for here. You can go for double hits, which I don't tend to go for. Like, I still kind of try for it. I lured him to the corner here. I stupidly ended up not even getting a single hit right there, because I was stupid. So I ended up just going for a single hit here, and yeah, like, I tried staying on, but I got hit by the hurt box instead of hitting the hit box. But here's where the magic happened. I did actually get a double hit for the first time in my life right here, this run. You can tell, like, if you look on the splits, I'm still already losing time because of how bad my luck was. But I did get a double hit. That was really cool. I felt really good in that moment. It didn't effectively save me time because I messed up a single hit as well. But, that was a really cool thing. You can even get a triple hit if you're insane, but, yeah, no, I really don't know how that works. So this is where, in this level, in full game, banana juice is basically required. We take a lot of damage boosts here. I think my juice ran out at the end. There's just too much that's in the way, to not damage boost. BIL, like, because it can play, because you can just repeat until you play perfectly, like, it barely gets away with not needing it if it's super careful and, like, gets past all the obstacles perfectly, but for a full game run, it is effectively required to have banana juice here. Fun fact, banana juice was lowered to 5 hits in the 3DS version. Probably because you can take several items into a level at once. I don't know if you can take several of the same item in. If you could, then that would be 15 hits if you take 3 banana juices in. But I don't know. So yeah, that's A1. It's if you have a juice, it's pretty simple. If you don't, then you're gonna have a bad time. A2 and A3 are auto-scrollers. Like, so this is a rocket barrel auto-scroller, so there's nothing happening. A3 is a more interesting type of auto-scroller, because it's a dual minecart auto-scroller, where there's actually a bunch of things you can do. A2, your main concern is not dying, because this is actually pretty difficult. Like, it would not be a shame to die in this level, and I thought, like, I thought that this might be the run where I die in A2 many times. I'm always hoping for it to not happen, and it hasn't happened yet, but I've always thought this might be the run. You can of course style a lot by getting like all the congas, all the bananas, everything. But in a lot of cases here I find it to be too risky. So there's a lot that I noped out of. Really didn't not want to take the unnecessary risk with this good a pace. I still have time to save in 8.5, 8.6, and 8.7. Alright, 8-3. So 8-3 is very interesting. There's a strat, like, instantly as soon as we get on the minecart, that's pretty funny. So, right here, this is probably my favorite strat in the game. I call it Donkey Kong wins by doing absolutely nothing. So, this jump right here, that jump is only possible if you do not do a single input on the first minecart section right there. Like, from the barrel shooting you on, you need to do literally nothing except press 2 at the right time, and you can make it across. And if you do literally anything else, you will not be able to make it across, because the minecart somehow, like, takes a different path across the platforms. I do not know why. I don't know how you even influence the minecart by doing stuff. That shouldn't really be the case. It's just one of those things where, like, it just works, TM. I did unfortunately lose Diddy in this section, I'm pretty sure, yeah. You can make it, you can make it fast enough to get past that fireball, not lose Diddy, and then you have him for the start of 8.5, which, because 8.5 is one of the toughest levels in the game, it's very nice, but I ended up managing. So yeah, 8.5. You can see I died here in my PB. I had 30 seconds of time save. It was all just down to not dying. But 8.5 is very difficult. I took it slow at a bunch of points here. This level is kind of bad on low health, so there I took it slow. This level's a lot about cycles as well, these platforms. The like deep red ones that are like cracked, go into the lava. The other ones are always safe. There's a bunch at the end where it's just like just the red ones. I took it super safe for the fireball section. This section, like, you can skip ahead a little if you, like, happen to have good cycles right there, depending on how well you played previously, which is nice. If I hadn't had the heart to expend right there, I would have died right before the checkpoint, very painfully. And having not taken damage with Diddy since then allows me to do this, which is not only faster in itself, but also sets up the cycles for the rest perfectly. You can do that just as it opens, and this like those fireballs and platforms happen to line up perfectly. The last opening, you really want to like do that way, so that the platforms line up that way. Else, you're gonna have to do some insanely clutch strats or like wait a long time for like every cycle. 8-6. 8-6 isn't that difficult, but it is extremely easy to die. There is a strat at the end too that you can do that would save a bunch of time, but it's very hard. So you can jump across a little earlier. This level isn't easy in general. A bunch of these jumps are kinda tight. I've done this level a lot. Oh yeah, if you die at any point, then the cycles become way off, which has killed me a couple times too. Really wanted to have the second HP earlier, so I went back to the DD barrel. The cycles on the fireballs are never really the same, I feel. I guess it's because of difference in how you play, even with the cycles being local. And then, so right here, this whole section, this is basically an auto-scroller, except, like, the gold barrel is actually present at all times. It's way off to the right. It's like the platforms are moving down constantly, but we're also constantly moving to the right. And there's a point where you can take a damage boost and just roll off like the top right of the screen, like if there's a platform there, and you can roll into the gold barrel way off screen. You cannot see what you're doing. It's completely blind, so I don't do it outside of ILs. It would save like at least 10 seconds, I think, but you need Diddy for it, and you can't see what you're doing. It's not very consistent. So you know, I just waited out right there. I had to run die to trying that and failing that before this. 8-7, not having Diddy for the sort of 8-7 is unfortunate, but it's okay. The first part of the level is these platforms that come out of the lava. You need to remember where they are, and which ones are triggers. Like that one triggered the next platform dropping down. You need to remember when you can just jump across to the next, like, full platform. So right here, I need to wait for the third one before I can make it across. Even though it barely seems possible. Without Diddy, it definitely isn't. And then this section here, it's not too difficult, but it is very chokeable. Again, there's triggers to hit for the next thing to start happening, and there's a bunch of potentially difficult jumps, especially if you're trying to do everything as fast as possible. There's also a point here where I intentionally damage boost right here, because this is a huge minefield of fireballs otherwise, that you have to go slow in. So I just, yeah, take a damage boost, and that leaves me on 1 health for the rest of the level, which is dangerous. Nothing happens if you play everything well, but right there, for instance, I messed up a roll jump, which let that enemy get extremely close, and I was very scared at this point, especially when that started happening. It only lost me a bit of time. Thankfully, I was able to save it, but man, 8-7 is very scary. This is just mash A or mash 2. Alright, so at this point, I've saved time in 8-5, 8-6, and 8-7, and I'm almost 3 minutes ahead, and very nervous. Because the last level that's remaining is very RNG heavy. 8B is notoriously RNG heavy. It's to the same extent as 7B. First of all, there's a 1 minute auto scroller where we rocket barrel up the whole tower. This is also very chokeable. You can easily die right here if you're nervous. Like this one's way more difficult than 7R. Sometimes you have to be like near the top of the screen to avoid those presses, or you have to be near the bottom of the screen to avoid these moving buzzsaws. This one's quite difficult, actually. Not dying here on a good pace is shockingly difficult. These guys aren't free to avoid either. You have to swerve across, judge everything just right. A lot of it comes down to memorization, when you need to be far ahead and when you need to like be far behind to avoid the buzzsaws and the prezes. Alright, and now 8B. So the first couple of things are scripted. So he's always going to do this attack with hands face down. I missed the first hit because I wasn't high enough, which is unfortunate. Then he does this, which lets us get a second hit in if we hit the first. This attack is optional. You don't have to see this, but if you get unlucky, you see it. At this point, you can also start having his hands face up. So you can't hit him during that. It's very unfortunate that happens. It never happened to me here. This guy actually gave me really good luck. I was just, I was actually very, like, I played the first phase very poorly. And whenever he did the hands, well, most of the time I didn't get a hit in. So right here you can see it again, I was just a little too slow. I don't know, I was nervous and things just didn't work out. So that ended up being quite a slow phase 1, even though I got really lucky. Thankfully he also gave me really good luck in phase 2. Oh man. This kind of hurts to watch back. So in phase 2, the first hit is scripted. He immediately like dives down, like he slams down. This is what you want to see. So now he's guaranteed to attack at least once in phase 2 as a whole, but you can get 2 of his slams where he's vulnerable back to back, and that did happen. So he only did 1 attack in the fight in total, which is awesome. And right here, because he skipped an attack in that cycle, that's time. That was extremely lucky. I owe Tiki Tong a lot of like you can see I was starting to lose time already because of my bad phase 1, but he really came in clutch for me right there. He's kind of a bro sometimes. So he can attack as many times as he wants in phase 2, I think. And he's got some really slow attacks too. Like the attack that he did, it could have been a lot longer, but he cancelled it pretty early. And then he immediately gave me another slam and let me defeat him. So that was very nice. And yeah, that's Donkey Kong Country Returns any %. The record for this category is currently at 127.59, if I'm not mistaken. Which is very, very good. It's still a lot more high level than this, but I'm very, very happy with this PB. I had barely any deaths. Like if you exclude the one in 7-2, which was intentional, I remember dying in 6-2 and in 5-3, and was that it? It was a really good run. I had some weird, interesting things happen, but still, I'm very happy with this run as a whole, and it'll probably be my last any % PB, at least for a while. I'm not sure how much I see myself improving this. That was DKCR any %. Yeah, so I go back through the splits here, look at a couple things. There were a couple of really minor mishaps that I really did not mind. I guess the 6-4 incident, but yeah, very, very good run all in all. I'm gonna upload both this and the commentary list version, like just the raw video, to YouTube. And then, you know, people can watch whatever they prefer, but if I submit this to marathons, I'm gonna submit the commentated version, of course. Also, what's up, La Roche Brock? I didn't say hi because I was busy commentating. Like, I tried to do this as marathon commentary, basically. So I can use it for future submissions, but welcome. We're gonna move to BN5 casual after this, just as a heads up. This was just me, like, playing back PB that I got offline. So I wanted to, like, have it commentated and show it to the world, basically. I really need to get new water. I realized I ran out, like, in World 5 or 6. And I was talking a lot. I might move on to 100% with this game. I just need to, like, familiarize myself with where and how to get all the Kong letters quickly as you go through. And it, obviously, like, how and when to buy the keys for the remaining levels. I wonder how it'll affect the coin art, because obviously, like, there's hardly a way you get 20 coins in World 1 without getting a DK icon with 15 coins. And that's it! There's the file. 71%. I think you always end up with 71% in this round. You get a lot just from clearing the levels that you need to do to beat the game. 100% doesn't even include literally anything except clearing all the levels, which in itself does include getting all the Kong letters, beating all the temple levels, and then doing 9-1. But as soon as you beat 9-1, you have 100%, even if you didn't do puzzle pieces or anything.